Good morning, guys. We're out here on the flats today enjoying a nice little fishing adventure in the Lighthouse Lakes. Beginning of September, we're all anticipating a change in the weather for fall, looking forward to things get a little more exciting, but it's still very summer-like today. Not a cloud in the sky, and it's getting pretty hot in the afternoons. We have really high tide. We're coming off the full moon, but we have great conditions. Not the best sight casting, but we have a lot of fish roaming around. But the weather's beautiful. We plan to spend a lot of time on the water today. But today we want to explore a bit of a serious subject. We're going to take a few minutes and we're going to talk about safety issues. I'm going to explain the items that I have in my kayak, certain situations that can come up that turn a fun day on the water into an emergency situation, and hopefully these things will help you out. And this certainly isn't a full list of the safety issues and situations that you will be confronted with, but it is a nice brief explanation of what you may encounter out there on the water. And even though you can have some great days out here that are very peaceful, there's still a lot of ways to hurt yourself. And there's a few things that I prepare in my boat that I keep with me to be prepared for those things. Today we have very bright sunny skies. The sun on most days is the enemy out here. So protecting your skin, protecting your body is always critical. A hooded shirt, hats, sunglasses, gloves, sunscreen, chapstick with sunscreen, all of those things are critical. It doesn't take very long, just a few minutes out here in this direct summer sun, and you can have a sunburn that will really ruin the rest of your weekend. And if you're down for a weekend and you're spending some time enjoying a couple of days on the water, you don't want to get a sunburn in the middle and have the next day become quite uncomfortable. So number one, protecting your skin. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, and clothing to do that. And another thing I prepare for in case of an unfortunate incident, if you happen to become detached from your paddle throughout the day, and it may sound kind of crazy, but don't think it doesn't happen. Paddle leashes are great to keep your paddle attached to your boat. I don't always use a leash, especially when I'm paddling around and I'm in stealth mode and I want to really be silent. I don't like the leash bumping on the boat, so I would detach it. But a lot of times if you take your paddle and you stow it on the side of your boat and you get distracted and you end up fishing looking the other direction for a while, and if it's a windy day and your paddle gets away from you, it is impossible to make it back to the boat. If you want to try it to prove that point one day, try to paddle along with your hands and see how far you get. It's just not going to work. And if you're against the wind, if you're out here solo, it can absolutely be a showstopper. So what I will do is I will stow an extra paddle under the hatch. It stays in there. Hopefully I never need it, but in case of a bad situation, it's there. If you have a hatch, a small hatch where it won't fit, you can take a two-piece paddle, break it apart, strap it somewhere in the back, and then it's always ready to go. The other thing that comes up in more conversations than you would imagine is the uses for a first aid kit. I always keep a first aid kit. It stays stowed under the hatch, always ready to go. The number one issue with dealing with injuries out here are oyster cuts. We do wear boots. We wear wading boots a lot. But as I spend a lot of time out here in the kayak, it's not uncommon for me to slip my boots off and stay barefooted while I'm paddling. But if you do step out of your boat, or if anything goes wrong and you end up out of your boat and your feet touch the bottom of these flats, everything down there will slice you to the bone. So when you're out here and you're working on those issues, a cut and a scrape is very difficult to deal with in a wet situation. So I use gauze, and then there is tender tape. It's a tape that can wrap around and around and around. So if you get a cut, you want something that you could put some ointment on, clean it with some peroxide, and everything out here is highly infectious too. So you want to clean it out as good as possible, cover it with some ointment. The reason I use the ointment is it's real oily, it's real greasy, it's waterproof, and when you wrap it up, it's going to be protected. And then you take the tape and wrap it around that, and then it stays sealed up pretty good. Another common injury out here that unfortunately is incurred is hooks. Hooks in hands, hooks in legs. So what happens, the reason people end up hooked more on the kayak than if you're fishing on a pier in a boat is you're bringing that action right into your lap. You're hooking a fish, you're fighting a fish as they come to the boat, as they come, you go to grab them or you bring them in the boat with you, the fish is still flopping, it's jumping around. And with topwater lures that have multiple hooks, or any type of lure with trebles or multiple hooks, are very dangerous. When they're in the kayak, when you're up close and personal, there's a huge chance of getting that in you. So having a set of tools in your first aid kit that deal with getting hooks out can really be helpful. And there's a few different ways to do that. If it's not really deep, if it's just barely inside the barb, the best way to do it is you're going to pluck that out. And I've done it numerous times to myself, and I've done it to other people. You can take a pair of pliers and you just turn the barb backwards where you release the pressure on your skin and just pull it out just like a fish, like you yank it out of a fish. There's also another technique where you wrap a piece of string around the barb of the hook, push that barb backwards, or you push the shank of the hook backwards where the barb has less friction in your skin, and when you pull that string, pow, it plucks it out in one sharp move. And the trick to that is you really want to get it the first move. You never want to come back for a second effort. And whenever I'm doing that on other people, if it doesn't work the first time and you come back for the second attempt, nobody's ever going to be happy about that. Now, if the hook is really embedded and it's really deep, you're going to have to push it through and cut it off. And regular fishing pliers aren't really sufficient to do that. So in my first aid kit, I carry a pair of wire cutters, some really heavy duty wire cutters. I wrap them up in a plastic bag. They stay waterproof, which again, you do not want to go at this numerous times. So if you have a hook that's really embedded in your finger and you see it passing through and the point is starting to poke out the other side, but it just doesn't quite make it, you just got to bite the bullet and give it a little bit of effort and push it through. And surprisingly, the human skin is very tough, and you'll find out how tough it is if you ever try to shove a hook through it. But when you're out here with a hook in your hand, you know, extreme situations require extreme measures. So once you shove that hook through and the barb is poking out, you can take a pair of wire cutters, get right down to the barb, snip it off, and at that point the hook and the shank just come out like butter. It's easy to it. So the whole problem is with the barb. And you know, we never hope we have to deal with those situations, but when the time comes, having a few items in your kayak and being ready for that can make a bad situation a lot easier. You know, you don't want to end up in the emergency room. You don't want to spend a day at the doctor because of a poor decision. So always protect your skin. Always wear good shoes and have a first aid kit handy. And then the final thing that I want to spend some time talking about is the life jacket. A lot of controversy, a lot of issues with when and where and why you weren't wearing your life jacket. The areas that I fish, we have a variety of situations. When we launch in the morning, we're along the road and we're along channels and there's boat traffic and there's current and deeper water. Always 100% mandatory to wear your vest at that time. Once we venture into the flats, you can see right here where we're sitting, the water is basically shin to ankle deep. And when I'm out here, I always go with the philosophy of take your vest off, stow it, have it somewhere handy if you need it. But deep water, current, limited light visibility, we launch early in the morning. Anytime there's limited visibility, I always put the vest on. And then you stow it in the boat throughout the day when you're back here fishing in the shallows. But when it comes time to head back to the truck and you're crossing that channel again and you're starting to intermingle with boat traffic, pull it out, strap it on, and then you don't have to think about it. The products have evolved over the years. There's vests that are very comfortable. This one is designed specifically for kayaking. It's cut super low in the back, so when you lean back on the seat, it's not pushing up around your neck. It has, you know, cuts out on the side for a lot of mobility with the arms. Plus it has adjustable straps on the side that will let you add some slack to it. So when you're standing up, if you tighten that vest down, it's going to be comfortable, but when you sit in your kayak, it's going to become much tighter than the standing position. So a high quality vest designed for paddling, multi-adjustable. And there's a lot of days, I mean, I have people that launch and they come out here and they're quite comfortable with their vest on for paddling and fishing, and they continue to wear it all day. So it's a personal preference, but there are a lot of criticisms on that, on when and where. Just a few things to remember: if it's limited light visibility, if you're around boat traffic, deep water, or current, it's 100% mandatory. But once you're out here all alone, ultra shallow flats, feel free to make yourself comfortable and stow that vest, but always have it handy. And hopefully those things help you out, guys. It's just a few topics that come up repeatedly in conversation, and if you are prepared for those situations, it does make a bad day less serious. So thanks for stopping by and listening. And if you have any questions, just shoot me a message, drop a comment. And for you guys that spend a lot of time on the water out there, if you have anything that you would like to add to the safety conversation, drop a comment on me and we will follow up on all of that. I'm sure a lot of people would like to share information, maybe on their own stories of how things went wrong, and if they had certain items, that situation could have been dealt with. So, safety is something for everybody. It really should be shared. Those stories may help somebody else out of a bad situation. Yeah, so somebody's unfortunate incident may prevent, something for others in the future. So thanks for sharing, guys. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next time.